Welcome back everyone to Pinetopia, where today we are going to be working on our first hole of the golf course. So here is the first tee. Yes, this was originally just a marker to keep me from getting lost, but I decided it looked a bit like a golf tee so that I would use it as the tee for our first hole. Now our first hole, the flag is down that way, right where my crosshairs are at. And the trickiest thing about this hole is that we have this hill, because if I don't clear the hill right, the ball will bounce back. I wind up taking stroke and distance penalties, and all sorts of nasty things happen as a result of that. So we're going to test things out to see how well I'm able to hit. It looks like so far that the distance I'm hitting things is based on the attack damage that we have here. So that's the assumption that I'm going to be making as I am hitting this. So therefore, right now, it looks like this is driving distance. This is about 80-ish in here. I can get as much as 100 out of this, but I think I will not get far enough on a wooden pickaxe. So I'm using a stone axe instead of a wooden axe. So let's see how far I can get. Now I'm going to try to hit it as nearby, just below the center. And you know how earlier I was talking about that if you don't hit it quite right, you're going to bounce back and land in the water? That is a perfect example of what I meant there. You got to be careful not hitting on the left side, or at least if you're going to the left side, you get a friendly bounce. You want to be on the right. Actually, I think I was pretty much, well, whether I was on target or not, I certainly didn't get it right. How about if I hit right on the center line? That is much better. So if you're a little low in it, it looks like you're going to be off and bounce back on you. So you need to know the hole a little bit in order to be able to get things accurately. Now, this is not good because I've got a rise between me and the hole. So I'm going to need a little bit of loft here. How about if I take the stone pickaxe, which is 3? How about the stone shovel? If I take a stone shovel and hit it a bit low, I think I'll get a bit of lift on it and be able to clear the hill bit. Yeah, that's what I mean. Perfect. Now, can do a tap-in. Ooh. Sticks are a legitimate tool in this game. And let's see if I do. Even the stick was too hard. I think I had to hit it lower. So that, yeah. Definitely needed to be lower there. Okay. So that's how it works. This is the hole here. It's 3 by 3, as you can see. We've got this pin here and 3 fence posts for the pin. And then, of course, the flag. I will have numbers on them once I get things settled in here, but I think this is a reasonable first hole. It's a tough first hole because of the bounce back. But in theory, you could even ace the hole. I think I've done it once. I did also the second time get it in there and it bounced back out. So that's what could happen in here. Or you could just bounce it that it goes into the river and you get yourself some sort of number of bogey. So that is the first hole. What I'm going to do today then, I was thinking of making some way of getting to the top there that's not as ugly as the current one. But I'm going to need some bamboo because my idea there is to use a scaffolding in order to get up, which is, I think, nice. I think that'll work. Unfortunately, I don't have any bamboo. I haven't seen any in this world yet. So that's a bit of a problem. The other possibility is to go onto the rooftop of the pro shop and then have a game there, but I think that might look a bit ugly if I attempted to do that. Third possibility is maybe I could move this back a bit. What happens if I make the roof of the porch here the first tee? If I do that, I most definitely will have to remove the mark I have over there because I have a feeling I won't be able to clear it all that well. So let's see. And can I see the pin from here? That's the other problem. I can't see the pin from here, so it would be a bit of a blind shot. I'll probably have to have some sort of marker saying the pin is in that direction. But let's see what happens if I hit this. I have a feeling I'm going to hit that thing and all sorts of nasty things are going to happen. No, I land in the water instead. How about if I extend the Pro Shop to go out a little bit more here and then this way, so change the shape of it a little bit. And if I do that, maybe that would be a good position. In other words, take this down and bring out the Pro Shop, and that way I can make that the first tee. Matter, but it's going to need a little bit more work before I'm really going to say that it looks anything near decent. But it's a start. And what I want to do before I finish up on this is to make sure it actually works on what I've planned. So the idea here is that I'll put our cube right over here. There is the first hole right over there. So let's hit it across and see how badly I do this. Well, works just like the old one. Let's see if I can do it better this time. Boing, boing, boing. How many different ways can I hit that? Let's see if I do any better with the steel or iron. Well, that was one of the more interesting routes that ball has taken. All right, aim a little bit to the right. That seems to increase my chances of actually getting into the right location. Yes, that's the way you're supposed to hit it. Now, let's see if I can actually convert it into a decent result. I think once I get the Pro Shop finished, I do need a bridge so that I can get across here easily without having to swim across there. But actually, that's a pretty decent putt distance. How about right? Yeah, birdie. There you go. With that successfully concluded, I think I will finish building the tower and the inside and see how it looks. Ah, the Pro Shop finally has a ceiling. And I think everything looks quite a bit better, though a little bit on the flat. But let's go on top and try a few drives. Now I have 4 of these now. let's see. So this is the oak one that we've been using all along. Let's see how close we can get if we had multiples on at the same time. Oak wasn't doing very well today. And then our second one is right over here. Hold on. All right, there wasn't anyone on there yet. All right, so Acacia decided to run off and have its own thing. All right, now let's try again with Acacia. Now that things are settled. Now, the activities of them of the various different woodblocks should be the same, but they could help in identifying which one is which if you have multiple players all playing at the same time. All right, so this one's cobble. Now, we don't want to actually use cobble in there, so I will replace that with birch. Actually, birch seems to be the... oh well, went a little long, but nice and straight. That's good. And then dirt. We can replace dirt with spruce. And spruce springs away. Let's have a little contest between oak and acacia and see which one more easily gets to the hole. And let's try... how about a stone pickaxe? Will that do? Well, not quite. Just leaves a little tapping in there. All right, there we go. Now. Yeah. All right, so Acacia cheats a little bit. Okay, Acacia holds it, but gets a penalty stroke for accidentally hitting it beforehand, so we'll say Acacia got it in 3. Now let's see if Oak can do 3 fairly. How about there? No, it can't. The tap-ins aren't really all that trivial in this simply because you're trying not to... I had to do it low in order to get the tap-ins right, and if you do it high, you're going to do what I did before and just bounce it back. I think I like what I did for the first hole. It's a bit tricky with all the things that could go wrong if you hit the wrong side of the hill, but it's a nice little challenge in there to open up the course. Now, that means we need to come up with a second hole. Now, this hill right here looks like a good place for the second hole. I'm going to mark this here as a good place for the tee. How about... I'll mark it this way so you can say this is the second tee. And I believe I've already marked out a location down in this direction, which is going to serve as our hole. And the question is, can I find it? I marked it out way earlier, but remembering where it is going to be the tricky bit. It's going to go through all this wildlife and the like. Oh, here it is, right over here. So it's a much longer distance for this particular hole. Probably actually put the hole right over here. Right over here, have our hole, and think it'll work. So it's a much longer shot, and I don't think we'll be able to see the hole from here. So I'm going to have a couple markers in here as landmarks in there. So the first one was this short one on a very hilly area. So this will be a longer one on a flatter area. I don't have the hole all set up ready to go, but I could do some distance testing to see, can I reach the approximate location? Because I need to decide what kind of part it's going to be and what changes I should make as a result of that. So let's make our official drive. Now I'm less likely to have bounce back as I would have on the first hole because I won't have to worry about as many things. I guess I could theoretically hit here, but the odds are much smaller of me hitting something in the forward direction than bouncing backwards. So I expect to have a better chance of being able to reach it. Now, the disadvantage of not having the pin up yet is I can't see it from here yet. So, which way am I supposed to go? There is the pin right there, that torch. And there is the cube right over here. So it looks like a pretty straight shot. Oh, here is shot number 2. How about right over here? What does that do? Well, obviously my guess that I'll have less trouble with things bouncing back is a little bit off. All right. All right, that time I'm past it. And it is bounced back and into the water. I guess I have to declare this a lateral water hazard. So call this the drop zone. I have to make out the details of the hole as we go along. And yep, well, because it's a bounce back. So obviously I have to think about bounce back troubles even on this hole since a second time that's happened there. Oh, now one of the tricky things here is that there is a water hazard right behind the hole. So one has to be careful there. Well, at least here the location of the drop zone is rather obvious. That could be right over here. Okay, it's my first attempt at it, trying to get a reading to it, so things are going to be a little bit off here. Now, obviously I need to have the actual hole dug and all that, but for now, I'll call that a successful put. I created the hole and the flag, and I think that right now for the first hit, this tree right here will make a good aiming point. I'm hoping that when we get to the second shot, we'll be able to clearly see the pin and be able to aim properly from there. Now, what I also need to do is to make some new tools because this is really wearing down my tools. All right, now let's see. Can we do this without bouncing backwards? Well, it looks like it's going more forwards than backwards at the very least this time. It might even do this without going backwards at all. I'll say this I'm halfway back. I see it rushing the other way, right? Okay, that looks like a wonderful drive. Ooh. I think I'm going to cover this one up. I think falling into this particular hole would be a little bit on the harsh side. because you can't see this thing at all, and it's suddenly popping up, and hey, okay, you lost your cube. This is not supposed to be a top tournament rated golf course. All right, now hoping to be able to see the flag from here. Yeah, there it is, right there. Do I need to increase the render distance, or would the default render distance be enough? I think the sheep is just standing in the way. Well, that, and we have this rise up here, so I'm gonna need that rise. Take care. I think I do need to use the axe again. Maybe a little bit additional vertical added to it so that I make sure I get over that hill there. So at least it's not as big a hill as we had before. All right, this time I'm clearly in the. Is this a par 5? I think on my first test I went over on the second shot, so I was thinking maybe a par 4 would be more appropriate. So it looks like it's a tweener between 4 and 5. Now, I'll decide that as I go along in my testing. I think a iron pickaxe would be the perfect item for this. I don't want to go too far since we do have that water hazard. Yeah. Okay, make it a par 4 because I definitely don't want to claim an eagle for that one. Oh, that really worked out. So yes, I'll call it a par 4. I think that that is a good first draft for our second hole. Next time, we will finish up the second hole and start on the third hole. And I'm hoping then that with 3 holes, we could then start seeing how it works together as a course. We'll return for the next episode of Piney Plays Minecraft Pinetopia.